International Building Code (IG) does not specifically address the tying up of lay-ins in opposite corners for ceiling concealments. However, the National Electrical Code (NEC) contains a provision in Section 300.22 (c) that states support shall be installed as close as practicable to electrical equipment and conductors. Flexible conductors shall be securely tied back at intervals not exceeding 4.5 meters, which is equivalent to 15 feet. While this provision does not explicitly mention ceiling concealments, it could be interpreted to require the tying up of lay-ins in order to prevent the movement of electrical wires or equipment. Besides the codes, there may be manufacturers' instructions or local building codes that require the tying up of lay-ins. For example, some fire-rated ceilings may require lay-ins to be tied up in order to maintain the fire rating. Tying up lay-ins in opposite corners for ceiling concealments is generally considered a best practice. This helps to prevent the lay-ins from falling down or shifting. This could damage the ceiling or electrical equipment. It is also recommended to use a method that does not damage the lay-ins, such as using wire or cable ties. Here's a more detailed breakdown for clarity. Let's start with the purpose of ceiling concealments. Ceiling concealments, often referred to as plenum spaces, are areas above suspended ceilings used for running various building services. These services include electrical wiring, HVAC ductwork, and communication cables. Proper installation and support within these spaces are crucial for safety and code compliance. Now let's talk about the NEC requirements. Section 300.22 of the NEC specifically addresses wiring methods and materials permitted in ducts, plenums, and other environmental air spaces. Subsection C, which you mentioned, is particularly relevant to suspended ceilings used for environmental air. While it doesn't explicitly state that lay-in panels must be tied, the requirement for secure support of conductors and equipment can be interpreted to necessitate some level of panel securement. The key is the phrase, support shall be installed as close as practicable to electrical equipment and conductors. If conductors are supported by or routed near the lay-in panels, ensuring the panels stay in place becomes essential for maintaining the integrity of the support system. Here's an explanation of flexible conductor support. The NEC also mandates that flexible conductors be securely tied back at intervals not exceeding 4.5 meters or 15 feet. This is to prevent strain on connections and ensure the conductors remain properly supported. If flexible conduits or cables are routed above the lay-in panels, securing them properly may indirectly involve securing the panels themselves to prevent movement. Now let's get into the IBC implications. The IBC primarily focuses on the structural and fire resistance aspects of built-in elements. While it may not explicitly require tying lay-in panels, it does address the overall fire safety of ceiling assemblies. Fire-rated ceiling systems are designed to provide a specific level of fire protection. If the lay-in panels are not properly secured, their movement or dislodgement during a fire could compromise the fire resistance rating of the entire assembly. Therefore, local interpretations of the IBC combined with fire rating requirements may lead inspectors to require some form of panel securement. Moving on to manufacturer specifications. Always consult the manufacturer's specifications for the specific ceiling system being installed. Many manufacturers of fire-rated ceiling systems have specific requirements for panel installation, including the use of clips, fasteners, or tie wires. These requirements are crucial for ensuring the ceiling system performs as intended in a fire situation. Ignoring these specifications can void the fire rating and lead to code violations. Local amendments and interpretations are something to consider. Local jurisdictions often have the authority to amend or interpret national codes to address specific local conditions or concerns. It's possible that your local building department has a specific interpretation regarding lay-in panel securement, even if it's not explicitly stated in the NEC or IBC. Always check with your local building officials to clarify any local requirements or interpretations. Considering best practices, even if not explicitly mandated by code, tying lay-in panels is generally considered a good practice for several reasons. Firstly, it prevents displacement. Securing the panels prevents them from being easily displaced by maintenance personnel, vibrations, or other disturbances. Secondly, it ensures safety. If a panel is accidentally dislodged, it could fall and potentially injure someone or damage equipment below. Thirdly, it prevents damage. Loose panels can shift and rub against wiring or ductwork, potentially causing damage over time. Next are methods for securing lay-in panels. There are several methods for securing lay-in panels. Firstly, wire ties are a common method, using galvanized or stainless steel wire to tie the panels to the suspension grid. Secondly, cable ties are another option, using nylon or plastic cable ties to secure the panels. Thirdly, clips and fasteners that are specifically designed for securing lay-in panels to the grid are used. Fire-rated clips should be used for fire-rated ceilings. The NEC Section 110.3b requires that all equipment be installed and used in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. If the ceiling tile is part of a listed assembly, the instructions will detail how the tiles are to be installed to maintain the listing of the assembly. Also be aware that the NEC does require support of the wiring methods. For example, 300.11 states that wiring methods shall be supported to the building structure. The ceiling grid is not designed to support the wiring methods. Also, wiring methods are not permitted to be supported by the ceiling grid. Now let's get into some additional clarification regarding NEC Section 300.22. C, since it is specific to spaces used for environmental air, such as those above suspended ceilings used for return air. The NEC requires that wiring methods installed in these spaces be suitable for the conditions and be adequately supported. While the NEC doesn't explicitly mandate tying the ceiling tiles themselves, the secure support of wiring and equipment in these spaces is paramount. If the ceiling tiles are integral to maintaining the support or positioning of wiring and equipment, then securing them becomes a necessary part of complying with 300.22. D. Remember, the intent of this section is to prevent hazards that could arise from falling or displaced wiring or equipment in the plenum space, which could obstruct airflow, damage equipment, or create a fire hazard. The IBC addresses the structural integrity and fire safety of building elements, including ceiling systems. While the IBC may not explicitly detail how to secure ceiling tiles, it does require that ceiling systems, especially those that are part of a fire-rated assembly, be installed in accordance with their listing and manufacturer's instructions. This often includes specific requirements for securing tiles to maintain the fire resistance rating of the assembly. Therefore, failure to properly secure ceiling tiles in a fire-rated assembly could be a violation of the IBC, as it compromises the fire protection measures of the building. Additionally, local building codes may have specific requirements regarding the installation and securement of ceiling tiles, particularly in areas prone to seismic activity or high winds. These local amendments to the IBC or NEC often reflect specific regional concerns and should be consulted in addition to the national codes. Always refer to the specific requirements outlined in the listing and labeling of the fire-rated ceiling assembly. These instructions typically specify how the tiles should be installed, including the type and spacing of fasteners, clips, or other securing devices. Compliance with these instructions is essential for ensuring that the ceiling assembly performs as intended during a fire. To recap, firstly, always review local building codes and amendments for specific requirements regarding ceiling tile securement. Secondly, consult the manufacturer's instructions for the ceiling system being installed, especially if it's part of a fire-rated assembly. Thirdly, ensure that all wiring and equipment in a plenum space are adequately supported independently of the ceiling tiles, but recognize that securing the tiles may be necessary to maintain the positioning and support of these systems.